Good evening and welcome to the 7th Annual Allegany National Photography Competition and Exhibition Live Awards presentation. I'm Julie Westendorf, Executive Director here at the Allegany Arts Council, and we are delighted to have you join us tonight for a very special celebration of all things photography. We are coming to you live tonight from the beautiful historic city of Cumberland, Maryland, located in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. Our community is best known for its rich history and world-class recreation and architecture. But in fact, we've received 2 major awards in the past year alone. Our Great Allegany Passage was named as one of the top 15 bike trails in America. And in January, USA Today named our C&O Canal towpath the 8th best recreational trail in the annual Reader's Choice Awards. But what you may not have heard about our community is the vibrant, eclectic, and energetic art scene that exists here, with 2 designated arts and entertainment districts in Cumberland and our neighbor up the mountain, Frostburg, a variety of galleries, studios, theaters, and public art. We are a respite from the busyness of life, a place where time becomes slower, colors become brighter, and where photographers can find all of the hidden inspiration they could ever want. To learn more about planning a weekend visiting us, we invite you to check out our tourism website at www.mdmountainside.com. Our live stream tonight is coming to you from both Facebook Live and our YouTube channel at Allegany Arts Council. And if you'd like to share it with friends or just revisit it later, it will remain available there for you on our YouTube page into the future. So please take a few moments to check it out or share it via social media. If you haven't done so yet, we invite you to visit the home of the Allegany National Photography Competition and Exhibition at www.alleganyphotoshow.com, where you will find a complete digital gallery of this year's exhibition, bios of our invited artists, a schedule of upcoming events, and more. And as a reminder, you don't have to be in Cumberland to take home one of the beautiful works in this year's show. All of the entries in the digital gallery are available for sale, and transactions can be completed online, right in the comfort of your home. So we invite you to bookmark our page at Allegany Photo Show, where we will continue to add show archives and winners information about our future competitions, including our 2022 program, scheduled for April 2nd through 23rd of next year. There is also an interactive feature to tonight's program where you can enter a question, share from where you are joining, or congratulate any of our award-winning photographers. And later in tonight's program, we will invite you to engage directly with us. So help make tonight fun by using that chat function. We'd like to recognize 2 very special groups of people tonight who make this competition possible every single year: the Allegany National Photography Committee and our 2021 sponsors. Each year, this dedicated group of volunteers spends many months developing the categories and call for entry, securing sponsorships, locating an outstanding juror, planning a series of related photography programs, and supporting our professional staff in managing all of the details an exhibition of this size requires. This competition would not be possible without the continued support and dedication of this great group. So wherever you are tonight, Photography Committee, cheers to you. We also want to thank the many, many sponsors who have supported this competition through the years, providing more than $5,000 in awards to our winning artists annually. This year, in spite of the many challenges all arts organizations have faced due to the global pandemic, we were delighted to receive our largest sponsorship class in the history of this competition. Thank you so much for your continued commitment and confidence in our show. And finally, a very special thanks to the professional staff at the Allegany Arts Council, who expertly manages not only this show, but many others throughout the year with precision and patience. And lastly, to our digital partner, Allegany Media, who has helped us jump over every hurdle COVID has brought us this past year. We appreciate you. If you've participated in our show in the past, you probably remember this evening a little bit differently, a little bit like a great big celebration with a packed house full of guests, great music, wonderful food, and amazing artwork. Tonight marks the second year in a row without the ability to gather together with you, and while the health and safety of our community and all of our artists still remains our top priority, we want you to know how much we miss being with you to celebrate tonight. So please mark your calendars, because next year is going to be a great homecoming. This is our 7th year conducting the annual show, and it has grown from a small regional competition to a national success. In 2021, nearly 830 entries came from 41 states across the nation. And during the history of our show, nearly every state in the U.S. has been represented. This year's competition featured 3 categories: black and white or monochrome, color, and our wildcard category, photography as sculpture. In all, 70 entries were selected to be featured in the exhibition, so a very special congratulations to each of the artists invited. I am extremely pleased to introduce tonight our juror for the year, Karen Irvine, Chief Curator and Deputy Director of the Museum of Contemporary Photography at Columbia College, Chicago. During Karen's tenure, she has organized more than 45 exhibitions of contemporary photography, both at MOCP, as well as the Hyde Park Art Center, Rockford Art Museum, and the New York Photo Festival. Karen has a BA in French and International Relations from Tufts University, an MFA in Photography from FAMU in the Czech Republic, and an MA in Art History from the University of Illinois at Chicago. But some of you may recognize Karen as our 2018 juror, and she was gracious enough to jump into the seat once more when the impacts of COVID-19 required placement of our previous juror, Audrey Sands. Karen, I am absolutely delighted to welcome you back. Through the years, I've heard many people say that you are one of the most favorite jurors we've ever had. And so we're really humbled and very honored that you would step in and join us again tonight. Welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Julie. I am very honored and pleased to be back. Visiting Cumberland is one of my favorite memories from throughout my career. It was just such a pleasure to meet so many passionate artists at one time, doing such a rich diversity of work. And that continued into my experience this year. Jurying exhibitions is always so much fun because there's such breadth of work and such richness. But it's also challenging for that reason because it's very hard to choose who gets awarded. So I hope I've done a good job of reflecting the diversity and the passion of so many of these artists. So congratulations to everybody in the exhibition and beyond.
Great. Welcome. It's a delight to have you back. We feel like old friends now. So we want to take a few minutes tonight and award these wonderful photographers. And so the way that we'll do that, Karen, is I would love for you to join me in presenting each of our category winners. And then I will announce the winner and we'll show the winning image on the screen. And then I'll turn it over to you to give a few comments about why you chose that particular piece or what it meant to you. And then we have some very special guests joining us tonight, and that's some of our award winners themselves, who it will be very exciting to learn a little bit more about their personal inspiration behind the works. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. So our first award this evening are in the monochrome category, which captures the special tones, textures, and emotions that we all love in black and white imagery. In third place this evening for his piece entitled Growing Up from San Jose, California, is Mr. Norman Aragones. Unfortunately, Norman was unable to be with us this evening, but Karen, I wondered if you might like to say a few words about this very striking young lady in the photograph.
I'd love to. This was an image that I couldn't stop looking at, to be honest. It's so rich in its details and its narrative potential. Here we have this girl, a princess costume, sitting basically amongst a lot of trash. So I felt like, it's interesting because there's almost like an ecological commentary, perhaps, but also I read into this her kind of shattered hopes and dreams, even at such an early age. We see the castle behind her that's kind of on its side, so it's very dystopian and very sweet at the same time. And I just loved that it incited my imagination in so many different directions.
Great. Well, I'm sorry that Norman can't be here with us tonight, but it is indeed a very lovely photograph, and it looks even better hanging in the gallery. In second place for the monochrome competition tonight is an artist based out of Greenville, North Carolina, and has a very unique piece called Acorn Weevil. Congratulations to Mr. Tim Christensen. Karen, I'm interested. What were your thoughts on this particular piece of work?
I loved this piece because it really almost didn't feel like a photograph. It really evokes a drawing for me, or maybe a print. And then also kind of blends art and science into one object. So I was completely fascinated to be able to kind of detect the details of the actual insect, but also appreciate it from a more aesthetic perspective.
And Tim, I think you're joining us tonight, so we'd love to hear from you. First of all, congratulations. And then we'd love to hear from you about this piece and how it came about, what you'd like to share with us about it.
Well, I'm really happy that Karen actually got some of what I put into it. As a practicing scientist, I was looking at the four walls during the pandemic going, what am I going to do? And I found my old insect collections from when I was a child. And I began the way a scientist does by examining these specimens in microscopic detail. But then I was struggling with the fact that as a scientist, I'm human and always searching for objective truth. But the truth is that as a human, I can only be subjective. And so I wanted to take this insect back to the roots of photography and back to when you could see the messy chemistry in the hand of the artist intersect with the burgeoning science of photography, and how photography itself had dramatic impacts on our view of the objective world in science. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We really appreciate your entry into the show, and it's a great addition to the overall exhibition. So congratulations to you. So the winner of our 2020-21 monochrome category is an artist that we have seen before in some of our competitions and hails from Lake Forest, California, for an incredibly striking piece called Black Lives Matter. Congratulations to Sandra Chen Weinstein. Karen, what was it about this piece that you felt was deserving of the top monochrome prize this year?
Well, it is, so important to acknowledge the Black Lives Matter movement in this year, at a time when our country is reckoning with anti-racism and trying to correct itself. And of course, this image just caught my eye from the get-go. This beautiful boy looking directly in the camera. He's got such a striking gaze that is so kind of strong, but yet vulnerable. And then to have the American flag kind of very faintly in the background, I just thought that, this image for me symbolizes perhaps hope for the future in terms of race relations in the United States.
Thank you. And Sandra, I know that we've seen some other work that has explored some of these topics from you before. So tell us a little bit about this one and the inspiration behind this particular piece.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Karen and Julie. It's interestingly, the year of 2020 has been seen as reshaping and refocus on civil rights movement in America, from Tamir Rice, age 12 in 2014, to George Floyd, to, in 2020 in May. It's just their tragic, unfortunate event propel excess forces from the police towards people of color, and African American deaths was the most recent catalyst. I mean, luckily, I was inspired by my mentor, Eli Reed of Magnum. His book, Black in America, has deeply influenced me when I first started my photography career in 2007. And since then, my first project is focused on minority and Black in America. And this is my ongoing project. And I thought there's a really surreal and real when I catching the young boy, in unguarded moment of his gaze in the Black neighborhood. And I thought, this is adding my, Black Lives America project, which is going to be ongoing, and especially development during the 2020. So I'm still working on it, and I really appreciate this rare opportunity that I can still working on this lifelong personal project. It's personal because I felt deeply connected to people, especially vulnerable minority people. And that really encouraged me to keep going. Thank you.
Thank you. And I must say that there are several images in this year's show that really just reach right off the walls and grab you. And this is one of them. It is just extraordinary. So congratulations to you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Next up tonight, we're going to present the awards in our color category. This category usually attracts the most entries of our entire show and is often the most competitive category in the entire competition. So we're very excited tonight to announce that our third place winner in the color category is also an artist whose work you might recognize. He has been featured in our show several times through the years, and his work always has a very distinctive and unique quality. From Dallas, Texas, and for his work entitled Untitled Studio Construction 11, Side 1, please join me in congratulating Mr. Brian Florentine. Karen, tell me a little bit about this piece. And this is another one that really, in person, it just almost feels like you can touch it. What was it that you liked about this one?
Well, what I loved is that it kind of proves that you can make a good picture kind of within your immediate surroundings, perhaps. I imagined Brian maybe in his studio noticing just the objects around him and how the camera captures them. This image does a really good job of what photography does well in flattening three-dimensional objects into two dimensions, and then really highlighting the graphic quality of what's rendered in the camera, so that it almost starts to feel like an abstract painting, perhaps, drawing upon some of the history of people like Robert Rauschenberg, who added materials to his paintings. There's just a lot to unpack in this image, and it is full of packed things, so it's kind of funny to use that word. But I just loved the kind of graphic quality combined with the kind of realist and very simple subject matter.
Spectacular. Brian, thank you for joining us tonight, and congratulations. I've seen several of your works, and I wonder if this is part of a series. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. Yeah, it comes from some earlier work I did that actually was in an exhibition a few years back. Karen, that you were a juror for that exhibition as well, where I was revisiting the works of William Henry Fox Talbot, who was one of the inventors of photography, and so some of the photographs he made in the 1840s, where he was photographing, books on shelves, for example. So I was just turning around and photographing the books from the page-in view, just filling the shelves full, taking the back panel off, and photographing it that way, and just sort of engaging in a dialogue with that history, partly because I teach history of photography, among other things. And then, the current work is just sort of an outgrowth of that, and it's less directly connected, but it stems from that. And it's involving, yeah, materials that were in the studio, and I also do installation work. So there's, in fact, I have a solo exhibition at Texas A&M University right now that has some of those materials in it in an installation format, as well as photographs like these. So yeah, I think basically one other thing, one other point. I'm also interested in the way that photographs um, uh, mimic the real world, and when you print one-to-one scale, which is what I do most of the time with work like this one, so that it is actually the same size in the photograph that it is in person. Um, it starts asking questions about the difference between photographs and things, and also photographs as objects. So yeah, there's that sort of complicated multi-layered dialogue going on. There's also a companion piece to this that's seeing that same shelf from the back side and see what the construction of it looks like, which is completely three-dimensional versus this very flat-looking version this side. So, yeah.
Well, it's very cool. It has a great presence in the gallery, and congratulations to you for winning the award tonight.
Thank you.
Our second place winner tonight in our color category captured a really eerie scene in some ways that I've wanted to learn more about from the first time I saw it. So congratulations to Menands Bay, New York-based photographer McCormick Brubaker for his piece Blue on View, DSCO 302. Karen, what were your feelings when you saw this piece for the first time, and why did you think it worthy of an award?
Well, Julie, you used the word eerie, and that's exactly what grabbed my attention. In fact, it was kind of the combination with something that feels very foreboding, and also this extreme beauty that McCormick has captured through his use of color and soft light. And it just seems like a beautiful place, but yet maybe something disturbing could happen here. So we've got this very mysterious little cabin in the background with light emanating from inside. So it had a lot of narrative potential as well, but I just loved the color palette and the beautiful use of light and capturing this very specific moment of the day that was just extremely evocative, I thought.
Yeah, it's great. And one of the most fun parts about this is we interpret it and then we get to hear directly from the artist. So congratulations, Mac. Tell us how this piece came about and what was your thought process behind it?
Thank you, thank you, thank you to the National Arts, Julie and Karen, for inviting me and selecting me. It's actually in Cape Cod at LeConte Hollow Beach, and it's a beach access point for the National Seashore. And I rent a cottage there within 5 minutes walk of that beach location. And if you look back, the little strange building that you were mentioning is actually a changing room and a bathroom for the beach location. And I've shot that for the last several years, specifically very close up on that building. It's a interesting color blue with a yellow stripe at the bottom. And I've had several photographs that have been selected in the past of just that building. And I had never seen that building at night. And it was just by chance, what I'm going to call a last minute chance. I came down to the beach that night, the night before I was going to leave to go back home. And I saw that the lighting was great. It is what you see there in the photograph was really what I experienced. I call a lot of times photographs have elements, and it had all the elements. There was the ocean off to the left-hand side, the picnic table, the trash dumpster, the light on the trash dumpster, the building in the background. So there was just a combination of elements, which I think contributes often to the visual experience of the viewer. And actually, in reality, that is what I call a look-back photo, because I had spent my time photographing the subject matter as I've always photographed, head-on, close-up of the building itself. And I left. I was on my way out back to the cottage. I was hungry. It was time for dinner. And I turned around behind me and saw the scene that you saw, and shot 2 pictures. And it was just by chance that I turned around to look to see that, and calculated this was a good photo.
Well, it is striking, and you do feel like you're right there. So congratulations to you.
Thank you
and
very
thanks
much.
for entering the show.
Thank you.
Finally, the winner of our color category tonight is an artist who we remember quite well from our 2020 show, where he captured a moment of pure bliss in a piece that he called The Laugh. Congratulations to Englewood, Colorado-based photographer Ron Cooper for his very striking work entitled Frankie Yellow Flower. Karen, this one makes a really big statement and has a big presence in the gallery. What was it about this one that got your attention?
Everything. I mean, it's just so beautiful, and it's so provocative. You know, it seems like this woman has either been silenced or maybe even applied the paint to her own face. You can kind of see a little bit of paint under her fingers, it seems, and her fingernails. And it just raises questions for me about women and their rights, and Indigenous women, women of color. How does society perhaps silence them? She seems very fierce, the way she looks at us very directly, and very beautiful. So it just is really an amazingly striking image. And again, it, for me, really raised questions of identity and history and culture, particularly in our own country.
Yeah. Ron, we're delighted to have you back again. And I couldn't help but think of the juxtaposition between your photo last year and this one. Can you tell us a little bit about how this one came to be?
Sure. Thank you so much. And thanks to the sponsors of this organization and show, and Karen, to you, and Julie, to you. I've had the chance to participate in this 2 years in a row, and I've got to say it's one of the best organized exhibitions that I participate in. So thanks for all that, and congratulations to the other photographers as well. It looks like a really great show. This photograph is of a woman whose name is Frankie Yellowflower Maestas Chavez, and she is a member of the Oke-Awinge Pueblo, which is a Native American population in northern New Mexico. I have had the good fortune to photograph her and actually her twin brother, whose name is Lauren Greyhawk, on a number of occasions over the last several years. And when this photo was made, she was a senior in high school and a student at the Indian School, which is actually a very high-profile school for Native American students in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She is a very active member of her pueblo, and in addition to being active in cultural activities, for example, like Native American dance, she's also an aspiring political activist. The red hand across her face is symbolic of the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Initiative, which is a movement that was started in Canada a number of years ago, but is now present in the United States. And the idea of this movement is to raise awareness of the fact that violence against Native American women occurs at a rate between 2 and 3 times greater than the population in general. In the United States, Native American women are more than twice as likely to experience either sexual abuse or domestic violence, or more serious cases even, including murder, than any other demographic in our society. 1 in 3 Native women is assaulted in her lifetime, and 2/3 of those assaults take place at the hands of non-natives. So it's a serious problem, and Frankie is among a group of activists who are trying to raise awareness of that particular issue and opportunity. And by opportunity, I mean raising awareness and hopefully getting some action taken on these horrible crimes. This particular portrait has been used by several organizations that are in the business of promoting the MMIW movement. As a college student now, she goes to the University of New Mexico, Las Cruces. She has stayed engaged in this. And her brother, her twin brother, who I've also photographed, and actually whose portrait was in this show last year, is also involved in the movement. So it's a very powerful, a very important movement, and I'm glad this portrait has gotten some traction. So thanks again.
You're welcome. It is really, really beautiful and very stunning in the gallery, so congratulations. Before we get into our final 2 awards of the evening, I want to give all of you watching tonight an opportunity to vote for one additional award, which will be presented at the end of this year's competition, and that is our annual People's Choice Award. The People's Choice Award is open to voting beginning tonight, and anyone in the world can vote. You can submit your vote via our Facebook page at Allegany Arts Council, and you can vote in person in our gallery if you're visiting. Voting will begin, as I said, this evening and will continue through Saturday, April 24th. The winner will be announced the following Tuesday. So please do take a few moments to go through the digital gallery or visit us in person and vote. Our next award category is our annual wild card, photography as sculpture. I call it the wild card because every year we tweak it a bit, and it is one that makes our exhibition a little unique among photography shows. We created this category to attract non-traditional and three-dimensional work that usually combines a variety of visual media. And because of the wild card element of this category, only one prize is given each year. I am very pleased tonight to announce that this year's Photography as Sculpture awardee is being presented to a Cedar City, Utah-based photographer, Raina Gardner, for her work, Do Not Touch Without Consent 2. Karen, tell me a little bit of your thoughts on this one amongst the entries in this category.
Well, Raina, I hope I'm getting this right, but this struck me as something that is possibly interactive. And I really loved the idea that this might be manipulatable to, create your own composition. Just having separate blocks with different images suggests that there could be another composition here, and that even this one that you've provided is very hard to kind of decipher and make sense of or map in one's mind. I mean, we can identify that it's showing pieces of the human body, but it's very hard to understand how they connect to one another. I also just love the richness of the palette and that these blocks are kind of evocative of children's building blocks. And it's just a really lovely, lovely piece that I wish I could see in person, because of course it makes a big difference to experience three-dimensional work through touch and sight.
Yeah. Raina, I think you're with us tonight. Congratulations to you. Tell us a little bit more about this. I noticed that there were several entries that had a similar theme. Talk to us about that a little.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. So this is an interactive piece. Karen is right. It was inspired by the Me Too movement, and it focuses on sexual harassment and assault. And the intent was really to create a kind of greater dialogue between the viewer and the artwork through the inclusion of women's perspective, using the body to illustrate kind of these broader social topics. A statistic that really stood out to me was that 1 in 6 out of every American women has either been the victim or of an attempted or completed rape in her lifetime. So I wanted to create work that really illustrated and informed that issue. So I created 6 of these photographic sculptures, and when they're exhibited, one of them is intentionally toppled over, again, to kind of reinforce that concept and the statistic. And just over the last few years, I've been really interested in taking photography out of the 2-dimensional realm into the 3-dimensional realm. So thank you so much for the wildcard category. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I do want to point out that this particular one actually dovetails with work that we're doing. It's actually National Sexual Assault Awareness Month nationwide, the month of April. And we're doing a digital exhibition right now that's also available online on our website called What Were You Wearing?, which explores this very topic. So congratulations and thanks for taking on a really important issue with this work.
Thank you.
So we have one final award to present this evening, and it is our annual Best of Show. This award is, I'm sure, a very difficult challenge for our juror because it takes the very best of all the images that we receive and whittles them down into the final. So there were so many incredible works to choose from this year, and I am very pleased to announce that this year's Best of Show winner is being presented to Redwood City, California-based artist Charles Anselmo for his beautiful work, Teatro Campo Amor No. 9. Congratulations, Charles. Karen, this one's a beauty. So I'm curious, what did you love so much about this one?
Yeah, this one is just doing so much. I loved so many things about it, from the gorgeous texture that Charles is capturing to the lighting, the composition, the palette. And again, just this, it's so mysterious what this architectural ruin, where are we? How did this magnificent building come to be in such disrepair? And then I also just loved the way that the trees and the plants are kind of reinstating their presence and maybe taking back over nature, kind of encroaching back on man's footprint on and built environment. So for me, a lot of narrative potential, and also just was visually stunning and mysterious.
Indeed it was. Charles, I'm so glad that you were able to join us tonight. Congratulations to you. Tell us a little bit more about this piece.
Thank you so much. I wanted to first acknowledge Rihanna for the correlation between her work and your other exhibit, which I think is extraordinary. And also McCormick's amazingly ethereal piece really took my heart too. But about the work, so basically what I've been doing for a long time is traveling to Cuba. I've actually been there in many, many projects and have had corollary projects with the Cuban government in their arts system for quite a long time. Have actually been there 74 times. During the course of this, various thematic focuses came out, and they basically had to do with the way in which the activity of memory itself is transformed by the artifacts of the past. And in the course of drawing these portfolios, whether it is Cuba or other abandoned sites, this is the contiguous thread that tends to link everything together. Cuba is my dominant source work for portfolios, however. So in the course of this, you're actually sort of getting a sense of the way in which the social schemata and how people see themselves historically, how this is actually embedded in the stone, how the masonry and the broken glass addresses these issues of historical status. And this is particularly true in a place that has been so, in many ways, concealed from the world at large in many ways. Cuba is, to this day, a remarkably excluded kind of place. But in the course of working there, rather than approaching this very popular image source as a tourist, which of course, as many do, and we have seen many of these images, I really approach it from the standpoint of developing a sense for Cuba's very unique architectural historical heritage. And so in the course of this, the Campo Amor was always the unattainable. Thank you, Karen, for your appreciation of this piece. It really was a hard road to get there. I was aware of this piece, very much influenced by the work of Robert Polidori and also Andrew Moore, and most of all, Edward Bertinsky. And they have had roads traveling through this place. And in fact, on the cover of very important work by Andrew Moore, there was this photograph of the inside of the Teatro Campo Amor. This month, actually 100 years old. And I had really tried to get into this building for about 15 years. And in 2017, I was actually, quite by accident, in the street, going by, hot and tired, in a terrible time of year, it can be very warm and damp. And I ran into someone who put me in contact with the caretaker, the man who had actually lived in this roofless, extraordinary relic for 15 years, I'm sorry, for 25 years at the time, in what had been a coat check room. And so began this relationship And he was actually very forthcoming in letting me tell his story. An incredible honor. There are a lot of foreigners who want a lot of things in the image world in this remarkable place, in this incredible city. But it had actually been quite an extraordinary way of seeing the way in which nature overtakes what we build. And so this is my theme, where we produce the detritus of our cities. We take things that begin as perfected plans. They're like platonic forms that in their perfection become very rectilinear and very beautiful, and which actually don't last because we tend to throw them away. And so the human order produces this detritus. But I do find that in Cuba in particular, you do have a remarkable richness of form, of color, of pattern repetition, and it's much more than architecture. It really is history. So the opportunity to come back again and again has been gifted to me for many years. And it is the case that in many senses, the Teatro Campo Mor represents sort of the apotheosis of all these places that I photographed, have exhibited very frequently in Cuba, and these images in the US. But this was sort of the crowning glory of 21 years of going to a remarkable place that I have actually had quite a good deal of difficulty really getting my hands around. So thank you for this recognition today. And thank you in particular, Julie and Karen and your staff and your board. And I can only imagine the incredible hard work that goes behind making this so organized and smooth. And in the technical realm, I cannot but mention Ryan as well. We will always need people like you, Ryan, to make these presentations go smoothly. So thank you all again.
Thank you, Charles. The work is really quite beautiful, and we're really thrilled. So congratulations again. I mentioned to you all earlier that there would be some opportunity for you to ask questions or share comments with us. Ryan, as Charles mentioned behind the scenes, is going to moderate any questions or comments that you have for us tonight. You are welcome to submit a question to Karen or to any of the individual photographers or collectively if you want. So we'll open up that now. And Ryan, I'll turn it over to you to share anything that we've received so far.
Hi, thanks so much, Jolie. Yeah, we have a lot of comments coming in, many from people who are viewing from all around our country. Fred from Leesburg, Virginia, Charles from Carlsbad, California, Karen has joined us from Baltimore, and we have Katie West from Wilmington, Delaware. Catherine made a mention that Mountain, Maryland is well worth a visit in her comments. And our first question comes from Clara. And this is a question to Ron. And the question is, where can people learn more about this movement?
There is actually a fairly substantial amount of information available online. If you simply do a search for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, MMIW, you'll find quite a bit of information. The movement started in Canada, and it has been fully embraced now in the United States. And not only is there information online, but to the extent that this is something you want to support, there are opportunities there as well.
Okay, thank you, Ron, so much for that additional information. It's such an important movement. One other question, actually a comment, comes in from Chris, and Chris just makes the mention that congratulations to Sandra. Your work is very moving and it's an impassioned piece. And Julie, it looks like that's all the questions that we have that have come through on Facebook and YouTube at this time.
Okay, great. I just want to open it up before we close things out. Do any of the photographers or Karen, do you have any further comments or insights that you'd like to? Feel free to jump right on in.
I'd love to just thank everybody for sharing the backstories to the work. You know, when I juried this, it's all done just based on the photographs themselves. And so it's really to learn the deep thinking and kind of passion and activism that's behind some of the works. So thank you all for sharing all that information with me.
Yeah, and for awardees, anything else that you'd like to share with us or make a comment before we close out for tonight? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss somebody? Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much again for joining us tonight and congratulate all of our award-winning photographers, our photography committee, our juror, Karen Irvine, and a special thanks to our sponsors, our terrific staff at the Arts Council, all of them who've worked extraordinarily hard behind the scenes to bring tonight together. I'd like to invite you to join us for our next event taking place, which will be next Saturday, April 17th at 5:30 p.m., called Behind the Screen, with Associate Professor of Art Robert Hine from Frostburg State University here in our hometown, who will take a deep dive into this year's digital exhibition, exploring some of the common themes, making connections between the pieces, but most importantly, engaging you in a conversation about the specific works in this year's competition. The event is free and it will take place via Zoom, but you do have to register in order to participate. So to do that, just send an email to art@alleganyarts.org with your name and email address, and the credentials for that event will be sent to you the day prior. Again, I want to thank you for joining us this evening on behalf of our board and staff. We appreciate you making the show a success. Good night.